Bernie told me something, I believed it because he never lied to me. He told me that when he got Oceans, Steve called the producers to try to get his role and even wanted to take less.
You know, Steve at one point was, uber successful, and then Bernie started to, because he didn't ever think he would get the opportunity he got, but once he did, America loved him, like we all kind of knew they would, and he decided to go a different way.
And then stole everything Mark Curry had. Now Steve got a sitcom where he the principal, and he wears.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Today, we are diving deep into something wild and messy in the world of comedy. We are talking about Steve Harvey. Yes, the man who has been America's favorite game show host, the smiling TV personality, and the king of Family Feud. But behind all that charm, there's a story many people don't know. A story about betrayal, alleged joke theft, and the messy rise to fame that Steve Harvey built. 7 comedians have now come forward revealing details about how Harvey allegedly climbed to the top, and it's shocking, messy, and full of drama. So make sure you stick with me all the way to the end, because every detail matters, every story adds to the bigger picture, and trust me, you do not want to miss a single second of this. It all starts back in the early 90s, when the comedy scene was tough, especially for black comedians trying to make it big in Hollywood. One of the first people to come forward is Mark Curry, the actor from the classic sitcom Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Curry has stated that Steve Harvey allegedly stole his material and even copied his sitcom concept. Can you believe it? Curry's show aired in 1992, about 4 years before the Steve Harvey Show came out in 1996. In Curry's show, he played a former NBA player turned high school coach, using comedy and heart to connect with kids. When the Steve Harvey Show debuted, Harvey played a comedian turned principal, doing almost the exact same setup. Both shows featured educators mentoring kids, mixing humor with life lessons, and even had similar episode styles. The similarities are wild, and Curry claims he shared his ideas directly with Harvey, talking about characters, storylines, and comedic timing. But when Harvey's show aired, it looked like he had taken the idea entirely. Curry has been very clear that he felt played but stayed quiet for years because Hollywood didn't look kindly on black comedians calling out other black comedians. Back then, the industry culture told you to stay silent, keep things under wraps, and don't make waves if you wanted to survive. Curry didn't fight publicly because staying quiet was safer than losing opportunities. Yet behind the scenes, he felt betrayed. He noticed that Harvey had watched him perform, even attended his shows, memorized his material, and then used similar jokes on bigger platforms. Curry even confronted Harvey at Comedy Jam 25, but Harvey allegedly played dumb, pretending he didn't know what Curry was talking about. But Curry isn't the only comedian with a story. Bernie Mac, another legend of comedy and one of the kings of comedy, also came forward. Bernie shared that at one point, Steve Harvey tried to get him fired from the Kings of Comedy tour. Bernie was crushing it, and his popularity was skyrocketing, but Harvey couldn't handle it. Bernie said Harvey allegedly went behind his back, using his influence to try to cut Bernie out, and even attempted to control how the producers handled his role in the show. This wasn't about a joke or a small misunderstanding. It was a career-level move that affected the way comedy was managed at the time. Bernie trusted the people around him, and when he told them, including radio legend Ed Lover, they believed him because Bernie was known for always telling the truth. His word carried weight, and his account added even more fuel to the growing story about Steve Harvey's rise to fame. Fast forward to 2019, and Cat Williams brought these issues back into the spotlight during a Club Shay Shay interview. He claimed that Harvey had stolen almost everything from Mark Curry, and even referenced personal stories that weren't Harvey's own. Cat's interview went viral, hitting over 80 million views, and immediately people started rewatching old footage, comparing episodes of Hanging with Mr. Cooper with the Steve Harvey Show. Side-by-side comparisons revealed the similarities weren't small, they were striking. Fans and comedy historians noticed that entire setups, types of jokes, and character dynamics were suspiciously close. Even Bernie Mac's old interviews resurfaced, showing he had been saying similar things for years, proving a pattern rather than an isolated incident. Godfrey, another comedian who stayed quiet for years, confirmed the claims. He revealed that Steve Harvey would sit in the back of comedy clubs, watch young comedians perform their material, and then later use that material on bigger stages, like HBO specials or Showtime at the Apollo. Godfrey didn't hold back, explaining that Harvey's actions weren't random or accidental. According to him, it was calculated. If you were a nobody, you had no protection. Steve Harvey had the fame, the network, and the power to control opportunities for people who spoke up. Godfrey's confirmation added a lot of weight because he wasn't directly involved or trying to gain attention. He was speaking from his experience in the comedy world and what he had seen over the years. D.L. Hughley, one of the original kings of comedy alongside Steve, Bernie, and Cedric, also weighed in. He tried to stay neutral publicly, but even his words hinted at the reality of the tension. D.L. acknowledged that the beef between Bernie and Steve was real and deep, enough to end the second Kings of Comedy tour, and that both sides felt strongly. He praised Bernie's integrity and honesty, noting that Bernie wasn't the type to make up stories, which confirmed the legitimacy of the claims. While DL didn't directly accuse Steve of wrongdoing, his acknowledgement of the tension added credibility to the accounts from Curry, Bernie, and Kat. Cedric, who has been a longtime friend of Steve, came to his defense in an October 2024 interview with Black Comedy in America. Cedric called Kat's claims revisionist history and defended Steve Harvey, saying he never stole anything and that even the homeless story that Kat referenced was true to Steve's life. But fans quickly noticed the contradictions. Cedric admitted that the tension with Bernie was real and serious, yet he denied the allegations about joke theft. Considering Cedric himself had been accused of stealing material in the past, many viewers saw his defense as covering for Harvey while trying to protect his own image. The combination of Cedric's defense, DL's careful words, and Ed Lover's confirmations created a complex picture. Steve Harvey's public persona may not fully match the behind-the-scenes reality described by these comedians. The stories reveal a pattern that paints Harvey in a very different light. According to multiple sources, Harvey would often target younger or less connected comedians, study their material, and use it to build his own career while they remained unrecognized. Mark Curry, Bernie Mac, Cat Williams, Godfrey, Ed Lover, and even D.L. Hughley all contribute pieces to the puzzle, showing that Harvey's success wasn't simply about talent. It also involved strategic moves that negatively affected other comedians' careers. Fans started analyzing old clips, interviews, and sitcom episodes, and the evidence started stacking up in ways that couldn't be ignored. The internet exploded after Cat Williams' interview went viral. People compared jokes, show concepts, and storylines, noticing striking similarities between Mark Curry's Hanging with Mr. Cooper and The Steve Harvey Show. Comments across social media platforms reflected a mixture of shock, disbelief, and outrage. Many fans began asking why Hollywood seemed to protect Steve Harvey for so long while silencing comedians like Bernie and Curry. These discussions brought decades-old stories into the public eye, forcing a new generation to confront the less flattering parts of Harvey's career. Steve Harvey's reaction to the backlash was telling. At a 2020 Invest event, he didn't provide any clear response to the allegations. Instead, he laughed off the claims and even threatened Cat Williams, saying things like, "I'd knock you short out. I'd shoot the perm straight out your head." That response only intensified the public skepticism. Instead of addressing the issues or clarifying the accounts, Harvey doubled down with arrogance and aggression. Later in a Pivot podcast, he tried a different approach, sounding more humble and claiming he apologized to Cat Williams. However, many people saw this as damage control rather than a genuine acknowledgement of wrongdoing. Throughout this entire saga, what stands out is the repeated pattern of younger comedians feeling silenced or pushed out. The comedy world historically protected established names, and Steve Harvey's position at the top made it difficult for anyone to challenge him without risking their own career. Clubs would stop booking comics who spoke up, producers would avoid them, and the industry quietly punished anyone who questioned the status quo. This culture of fear helped maintain Harvey's rise while keeping those with accusations quiet for decades. The stories from Mark Curry, Bernie Mac, Cat Williams, Godfrey, Ed Lover, D.L. Hughley, and even Cedric show a web of complexity. Curry highlights the stolen sitcom concept. Bernie details the alleged attempts to get him fired from the Kings of Comedy. Kat was viral, exposing multiple examples of joke theft. Godfrey confirms the tactics were intentional. Ed Lover provides outside validation. DL acknowledges the tension without taking sides. And Cedric attempts to protect Harvey's public image, despite contradictions. Put together, these accounts give a full picture of a rise to fame that involved brilliance, strategy, and controversy all at once. It's wild to think about how Harvey managed to maintain such a polished public image, while behind the scenes, several comedians claim he acted in ways that were selfish, aggressive, and even career-damaging. The combination of strategic moves, controlling networks, and allegedly taking material from others allowed Harvey to cement his place as a household name. But with multiple first-hand accounts, viral interviews, and historical evidence surfacing, the public has started asking tough questions about loyalty, ethics, and accountability in comedy. Even now, the controversy isn't fully resolved. Some fans defend Harvey, saying he worked hard and succeeded fairly. Others point out the evidence, noting side-by-side comparisons of sitcoms, joke similarities, and the corroboration from multiple comedians. The conversation is complicated because comedy itself is competitive, and accusations of joke theft have always existed. But the weight of these stories, coming from respected voices in the industry, cannot be ignored. The combination of history, first-hand accounts, and viral reactions have changed the conversation about Steve Harvey's rise and what it really took to get there. So what does all this mean for fans of Steve Harvey? Well, it doesn't mean you can't enjoy his shows or admire his talent. Now, one of the most interesting parts of the story is how the comedy community itself reacted. It's not just about the claims themselves, it's about the network of relationships that existed in the 90s and early 2000s. Many comedians were forced to pick sides quietly or simply stay silent to survive in Hollywood. For example, D.L. Hughley, Cedric the Entertainer, Bernie Mac, and Cat Williams all had varying relationships with Steve Harvey. DL tried to remain neutral publicly, but his statements hinted at a serious rift that impacted careers. Cedric openly defended Harvey, but that defense was complicated because of Cedric's own history with alleged material theft. This creates a picture of a community that, while tight-knit in public, had layers of unspoken tension, protection, and strategic silence. Ed Lover's perspective adds a critical layer to understanding the scale of what allegedly happened. He confirmed Bernie Mac's claims about Steve Harvey attempting to block him from the Kings of Comedy tour. Ed pointed out that this was not just a misunderstanding or a single incident, it was part of a larger culture where powerful figures in comedy could control opportunities, manipulate narratives, and protect themselves from scrutiny. According to Ed, what Bernie experienced was real-time betrayal, not something exaggerated or invented years later. That outside validation gave credibility to Bernie's story and painted a picture of an industry where fear and influence were tools of survival. The viral Cat Williams interview in January 2024 was a turning point. Cat went on Club Shay Shay and didn't hold back. He outlined how Steve allegedly took Mark Curry's sitcom concept, adopted personal stories from others, and built his career while limiting opportunities for younger or less connected comedians. His delivery was precise, confident, and full of examples. He wasn't guessing or gossiping. He was speaking from first-hand experience. Once the video went viral, fans immediately started comparing clips of Hanging with Mr. Cooper and The Steve Harvey Show, noticing that jokes, setups, and storylines were almost identical. Even the way the characters were written seemed suspiciously similar. This side-by-side evidence made it difficult for anyone to dismiss the claims outright. Godfrey, who had no personal connection to Curry or Cat, also confirmed the tactics allegedly used by Harvey. According to him, Harvey would attend smaller comedy shows, watch up-and-coming comedians perform their best material, and then later use that same material on bigger stages, where he had more visibility. Godfrey explained that this wasn't an isolated pattern, it was a deliberate strategy. If you were a young comedian trying to make a name for yourself, your work could be appropriated without consequence, while speaking up could cost your future gigs. This painted a picture of a system where talent alone wasn't enough. You also had to navigate politics, clout, and potential sabotage. Bernie Mac's story is especially tragic because it shows how personal ambition and friendship collided with betrayal. Bernie was known for his integrity and honesty, and he consistently spoke the truth about Harvey's alleged behavior. According to Bernie, Harvey's attempt to get him removed from the Kings of Comedy tour wasn't just competitive, it was personal. Bernie's popularity was rising, and Harvey allegedly felt threatened by it. This created tension that ultimately ended the second tour and left Bernie deeply hurt. Sadly, Bernie passed in 2008 without reconciling with Harvey, and the stories of betrayal remained unresolved. The narrative also shows how Steve Harvey's public image was carefully curated. On the outside, he was the funny, charming, and wise TV host America loved. Behind the scenes, according to multiple accounts, his rise was marked by calculated moves that negatively impacted others' careers. Mark Curry stayed quiet for years. Bernie Mac faced behind-the-scenes sabotage, and Cat Williams waited until he was secure in his own career to speak up publicly. The pattern of behavior, whether you believe it or not, sparked a conversation about accountability, ethics, and fairness in the comedy world. Fans reacted strongly to the Cat Williams interview and subsequent confirmations from other comedians. Many people went back to rewatch classic clips, comparing jokes line by line. Social media exploded with side-by-side comparisons of Curry's Hanging with Mr. Cooper and The Steve Harvey Show, highlighting nearly identical setups, joke structures, and character arcs. Even casual viewers who remembered these shows began questioning what had really happened. The internet became a place of investigation, debate, and outrage, showing that the story resonated beyond just the comedy community. Steve Harvey's response, or lack thereof, was another critical part of this story. At the 2020 InvestFest event, he didn't respond with facts or explanations. He responded with threats and aggression, saying things like, "I'd knock you short out. I'd shoot the perm straight out your head." Later, he tried a more humble tone on the Pivot podcast, claiming he had apologized to Cat Williams. Many people viewed this as a damage control tactic rather than a genuine acknowledgement of wrongdoing. He never directly addressed the accusations about joke theft or the similarities between his show and Mark Curry's sitcom. By avoiding accountability, his image took another hit, leaving fans and critics debating his legacy and ethics. D.L. Hughley's cautious stance also sheds light on the difficulties comedians faced when speaking out. He didn't deny the tension, acknowledged Bernie's integrity, and hinted at Harvey's actions, all while trying not to publicly attack Harvey. This careful balance shows how navigating relationships in comedy can be tricky. If a comedian spoke out too strongly against someone as powerful as Harvey, it could end their career or cut them off from critical opportunities. DL's words, though diplomatic, added credibility to Bernie Mac's and Cat Williams' stories, reinforcing that these were not isolated claims, but part of a larger narrative recognized by industry insiders. Cedric the Entertainer's defense of Harvey also brought controversy. Cedric called Cat's claims revisionist history and stated that Steve had never stolen material. He defended Harvey's personal stories, including the homeless story Cat referenced. Yet Cedric admitted the tension with Bernie Mac was real and serious. The contradictions in Cedric's statements raised more questions than answers. Fans pointed out that Cedric himself had faced accusations of material theft, which made his defense appear less impartial. This highlighted how alliances in Hollywood can complicate truth-telling and create protective layers around high-profile stars. The repeated accounts from Mark Curry, Bernie Mac, Cat Williams, Godfrey, Ed Lover, and even D.L. Hughley build a picture of a man whose rise was not just about talent, but also strategy, calculation, and, according to multiple sources, appropriation of others' work. Harvey became a household name, headlined sold-out arenas with the original Kings of Comedy, dominated television with Family Feud, and wrote best-selling books. On paper, he's the ultimate success story. But when you layer in these stories of betrayal and alleged material theft, the narrative becomes far more complex. Fame and success often come with unseen costs. And in this case, the costs were borne by other talented comedians who trusted Harvey or were in his orbit. By 2025, the conversation around Steve Harvey had changed dramatically. Fans were no longer just remembering him as the smiling TV host, they were questioning the integrity of his rise to fame.
They examined old interviews, analyzed clips from sitcoms and specials, and saw a pattern of behavior that had gone largely unspoken for decades. Social media became a forum for debate, with some defending Harvey and others calling him out. This shift shows how information, evidence, and first-hand accounts can alter public perception even for a celebrity who has long been considered untouchable. At the heart of this story is a lesson about accountability and the importance of recognizing contributions. Mark Curry's sitcom, Bernie Mac's career, and Cat Williams' stories all highlight individuals who were affected by alleged actions in a system that often protected the powerful. These accounts remind us that success in entertainment isn't just about talent. It's also about ethics, choices, and the relationships you nurture or exploit along the way. Comedy, like any industry, has a history of complex power dynamics, and the Steve Harvey saga is a clear example of that. Even now, fans are still dissecting the evidence. From side-by-side comparisons of sitcom episodes to viral clips of interviews, the legacy of Steve Harvey's rise is being examined under a microscope. Many are asking whether the comedian they admire is the same person who allegedly used others' material and influenced careers behind the scenes. Others argue that Harvey's talent and work ethic are undeniable, regardless of the controversy. The debate continues, and it's a story that shows just how messy fame and success can be, especially in Hollywood. Before we end, I want you to really think about what this story means. It's more than Steve Harvey. It's about the comedy industry, loyalty, and the price of success. It's about how stories get told, how silence can protect power, and how accountability can change perceptions years later. The experiences of Mark Curry, Bernie Mac, Cat Williams, Godfrey, Ed Lover, D.L. Hughley, and Cedric the Entertainer show us the complexities of fame and success and how the real story is often hidden behind the smiling faces on TV. So, now it's your turn. What do you think? Was Steve Harvey misunderstood? Or did he use his influence in ways that hurt others to build his empire? How much weight should we give to the accounts of Mark Curry, Bernie Mac, Cat Williams, and the others? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe for more deep dives into celebrity stories, and stay tuned, because the story of comedy, fame, and betrayal is far from over. There's so much more to explore, and every detail adds